So today's lecture is, why does the rise of Islam in Arabia make sense? And I hope to connect some aspects of geography here, um, and other cultural elements of Arabia to why a monotheistic religions that's kind of new would emerge in Arabia. So here it is. Here's the Arabian Peninsula. It's pretty massive if you really think about it. It's an offshoot of the subcontinent over into in Africa here. Um, you'll see right here just a massive desert, and that's why there's kind of two countries, just because there's a coast, huge desert. Here's Saudi Arabia. You'll see that here's Mecca and Medina, relatively important parts of our story. So, geographically, the Arabian Peninsula is extremely long, all right? It's going to be longer than any country in Africa. It is arid, meaning this is largely without water. If you want to go as far as to say there are deserts in it. There are scattered oases, meaning there are places where life can occur. And of course, there's locations along the coast where life can occur. But as a whole, it's very hard to keep this region connected. You'll see right here, there's an entire coast of mountains. And in those mountains are where Mecca and Medina are. The people that have lived there for thousands of years are nomadic pastoralists. They move with their food source, their animals. They bring their animals to different locations to graze. There is not a great history of large city building. They do have villages, and those villages over time did emerge into today's cities. Um, but we weren't talking about at the same time where you have Rome being built, and you have Athens, and you have the Acropolis. You're not going to see anything like that in Saudi Arabia or Arabia during the classical age. Now, the people who lived in this area here with their animals, we're going to call them Bedouins. If you tended to live in a village, you were not a Bedouin. Bedouins are defined as those who live in the desert. They typically would be with the animals. They would be gone for weeks, months at a time. There would be women and children with them, but largely it was a male thing of grazing with the animals. There lacked a traditional elements of civilization. Everything that we think of when we think of civilization as a unified political structure, and unified class structure. Okay, I just want to let you know that Max is going poop right now. Okay, he's going to want me to wipe later. So, Max, you're going to need to take about 5 more minutes. I'm talking to my computer. Push that baby out. I think this one's a big one. Anyway, so basically, when we think of the classical civilizations, none of those elements are there in Arabia. So why would it now give birth to the third largest, second largest faith on earth today? So a little bit about its society. It was egalitarian, meaning there was a general sense of equality. There wasn't a high class system, except for those who had some more money and were part of trade. Um, but that doesn't mean it was like a social society where there were people in charge who provided for the people who did not have. That's why I use the word. That's why I say it's a state of anarchy. There was no hierarchy. There was no stable government that was larger than a village clan base to take care of people. It was relatively homogeneous people. Um, Max? Okay. Um, Meaning the people typically were Arab. They spoke Arabic. And for that, you do see there's a unifying factor. But though they might be ethnically and linguistically similar, That's as far as the construct got. I will say, because Arabia is located between the Western world and the Eastern world, it has thrived through trade. Now, you wouldn't see that because it doesn't have these gigantic birthed cities, but it definitely, people made their living taking goods from the West and bringing to the people of the East. Now, if you look at Arabia, there is no history of being conquered. No one can conquer it. No one wants to conquer it. Alexander the Great kind of nudged his way down and said, yeah, not going to do it. All right. So when you look at that, there is a distinct lack of cohesive political unity here. And I'm going to say, because of that, change must come from within. It's not going to come from the outside, though it might be influenced from the outside. I think what we're going to see is a religion born of Arabia, with outside influences, but born of Arabia. You'll get to my point later. A little bit more. Now, there is a lack of urban areas for churches. Now, churches play a central role in faith today. So just imagine that there is no town to go to where there was going to be a church for you. There were Jews and there were eventually Christians throughout Arabia, but they were very scattered and very localized. Um, to be honest, if given hundreds of more years with more trade and maybe some conquest, this region would be part of Christendom. There is no reason why it wouldn't. They were being influenced. There were people of that faith. It just was having a hard time catching up to the grandeur of the West. Now, there were a lot of pagan and polytheist influences, so you do have a lot of a hodgepodge of people. Um, so, again, there's that lack of unity uh, religiously. So, I'm going to tell you that I believe that change not only must come from within Arabia, but change must come from some sort of authority that says, Medina, Riyadh, Mecca, people of Yemen and Oman, you must, you should. It's going to have some sort of hierarchy. Um, it's going to have some sort of community that brings everybody together. And lastly, politically, there was no foreign or domestic power that could easily control these people. There was no urban center that controlled a kingdom. There, in this social society where there was this desire for equality, there were some economic elites in this egalitarian society that have to be brought in for anything to be done. Um, they're the ones that had the money because they were ones that part of the trade that took us from Africa to Asia. So, an economic elite must buy in to any political or religious change to come. So, again, with this lack of unity, we are going to see that there must be change that is a mixture of religious, political, and economic. Okay, 1 minute. Keep having fun. All right, so now let's go back. Muhammad is from Arabia. Muhammad eventually helped create a church, a caliph, a kingdom that quickly took over and created a structure of authority. And there is going to be a community called the Ummah that creates this structure as well. And lastly, if you really think about the prophet, he is a religious leader who takes political and military control of this region. And lastly, the reason why Muhammad was ever known before this time coming was because of his wealth from being part of this economic trade right in this region. The short of it is, the geography that caused Arabia to be behind the times by 300 or 400 years is the same geography that truly led to a unique and distinct faith like Islam emerging, even though that unique and distinct faith has tremendous ties to a root that is Judaism and Christianity. I need to go take care of my kid. Here's a couple other slides real fast. All right, bye.